money and where it's allocated, and she's gonna firm it up and just, but,
Good.
But it's definitely getting, we have a much better, it feels like a much better handle.
Oh, I
you know,
can
on all
read
the
it.
financials now, yeah.
I can read it so easily,
Mhm.
and I understand it a lot better, so that's good for me. Yeah,
I'll make a motion to approve the November financials.
and I will second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Passes.
Okay, attendance policy. So there's two pieces, and actually, this is more like the justification and sort of what we're, I mean, the actual attendance policy that's like in the board manual is gonna be here, that we're looking at. And I can just kind of give you the high level reasoning as well as like what changed. In the past, we have, if a student misses a given class, so not a day, not like I missed a full day, if they have to miss, I don't know, out of our 7 periods we have, if they miss 4 of those, it's considered a full day absence. If they miss 3, it's a half day absence, or 3 or less, it's a half day absence, whatever. But not counting that, because that's a whole other reporting issue about the state and reporting legal issues and things like that. So that's one piece. We had a separate policy that a lot of people have of if they miss a given class 10 times in a semester, then we would fail them, or they had the ability to withhold credit for that given class. Okay, sounds like a great idea. I've been at schools that do it before. It unfortunately for us has just led to a huge administrative headache with very little return on that headache. So what we were doing, because what happens is after they're over 10, you put them on a committee that then meets, listens to extenuating circumstances, decides a course of action, and so our teachers are having to give input on that, we're giving input, we're putting kids on attendance contracts where, oh, well, you can recover this credit if you don't mess up in the future, and then they would mess up in the future, and then we've done all this work, and they're still, they didn't recover the credit, and so anyway, and then it's just turned into a whole like thing that really at the end of the day, denying them credit isn't really, number one, I don't think it's necessarily pedagogically sound,
Yeah.
because what we should be doing is assigning work at such a level that if they're not ever here, and if they can't pass the test, I mean, here's the thing, if they can come in and pass all the tests, right, and we're giving tests, and the tests are actually related to the coursework, and are actually showing mastery of that course, and they can pass them, then great, if they can't, or if we're giving a test that they can pass that doesn't show mastery of the coursework, that's a problem, that's on us. If we're passing kids just on the fact that they're here, and they're doing crossword puzzles, or what have you, that's not good either. And all that is, that's just penalizing kids for not being here, and they're not here just to like do whatever. So this is all kind of a bigger picture of us really evaluating our learning objectives and the assessment of those learning objectives, and those daily learning objectives being very tied to the state standards, to mastery of the course content, and assessments being tied to those learning objectives. So the assessment is not tied to what's Hamlet's best friend's name, right? It's tied to, can you provide an analysis of this section of Hamlet, and so then that becomes like, and if they can come in and do that, and they haven't been here, then whatever. But that's not really the case. And we're just seeing a lot of discrepancies, a lot of things. And what it basically is becoming is, if a kid, we gotta get our kids graduated, and we're almost making another barrier for them that isn't even an effective barrier to create. And so that's really, and like I said, it turned into this whole other administrative headache that really wasn't yielding any fruit. We still will do, which we feel like is a better solution anyway, what's a FIN, it's called a FINS, which is a Family in Need of Services. And so if a student misses over 6 times, which is actually before we were at 10 absences, if they miss over 6 times, at 6 absences we refer them to, 6 unexcused absences, I should absences.
Mhm.
6 unexcused absences, we will refer them for offense and do offense at that point. And we think that that'll allow some earlier intervention as well. And so, yeah, so this is really at the recommendation of Courtney, and Mackenzie, who have been doing, kind of handling all the attendance stuff. They've done a lot of research into it, looked at a lot of different things, and it's just, this is kind of the direction that we felt like we should move.
So referring them to offense, that's the name of the program?
FINS, FINS, yeah.
So what's the steps there and what?
So you
happens?
file paperwork with the prosecuting attorney,
Yeah,
basically.
okay.
And then they will call the family in.
Yeah.
You know, they'll kind of collect records on it,
Yeah.
call the family in, and then they basically get a social worker.
Mhm.
I mean, depending what the situation is. The kid, if the kid's flagrant, I mean, you see kids have ankle monitors because they're so
Yeah.
flagrantly truant all the time,
Mhm.
that's the last resort. Like, okay, well, we're gonna put a monitor on you, and if you aren't at school at this time, if you don't leave, if you leave school before this time, we're gonna, put on an APB. And I mean, we hope to not ever get to that point,
Yeah.
and that's sort of an extreme level of,
Mhm.
like, I can't ever get my kid there.
Mhm.
But I mean, there's a lot of different things that, and we really feel like I don't know. Our attempts at intervention like that have not been successful.
Yeah.
Whereas turning it over to a FINS
Mhm.
is a little more successful, because there's actually teeth to it.
Mhm.
And what we found is like saying, like, oh, we're gonna deny you credit for a course was not teeth. There's no teeth in that.
Did y'all not already file them to FINS?
Oh, no, we did.
Yeah,
We did 10
yeah,
absences. We did have
because
10
you
absences
have-
before. We're going
okay.
down to 6
So
absences.
now it's 6.
Yeah.
Well, and that kind of puts it in
Yeah.
their hands.
Right.
Courtney doesn't have to
Exactly.
Mackenzie won't
Yeah.
have to step in until.
Yeah,
So how many students fit this criteria?
a lot. I mean, we just filed 20 FINS for kids with 10 plus absences. We
Yeah.
just filed, McKinsey just filed 20 last week, with the court system.
Mhm.
And so that's,
9 times out of 10, it's something most likely outside of the classroom. It's something at home going on, or
yeah, or they just have developed such an antipathy. And
Yeah.
if there's things that are going on like that,
Mhm.
I mean, we've got kids that are, that are in transitional housing or that are homeless or whatever. And then there's definitely a lot of work going on before we're gonna file FINS with somebody
Mhm.
to find out what the situation is.
But we're not seeing stats of, and it's happens to be with the same teacher or the same
Oh,
classroom
no,
or nothing like
no,
that.
no,
Okay.
no. It's-
Well, that's a
yeah.
shame that that's happening. I think that's great. Fundamentally, you realize that, okay, this is only penalizing, this is not at all incentivizing, we're getting these kids in the right direction. So you've identified the problem. Yeah, it sounds like the solution is not gonna be something that's a silver bullet here.
I mean, I think the real thing that we're gonna have to get everybody crystal clear on
Mhm.
is the grading practices around it, right? So that they are truly aligned with mastery, so
Standards.
so that it's not just like, oh yeah, I mean, and our grade policy we're moving towards is 2 grades per week. One of them can be, or at least 2 grades per week, one of them has to be an assessment of skill or knowledge, it can't, so you can't just give like, my 2 grades are a week, or, well, they did a little writing prompt and turn that in, and they get a completion grade for it,
Mhm.
which is what, I'll confess, I did all the time as a teacher, or I'm taking participation grade today, you guys were here, you participated, everybody, you get a check mark. And there's nothing wrong with that, and we're gonna look at categories, and maybe that's a category, daily participation, it's not a category that if you're failing in, because that isn't where content knowledge should live, right? But it could be a percentage, it could be 20% of the class,
Right.
daily participation, And so you take as many participation grades as you want, but that's an X percent, but it's
Mhm.
not excluding a kid who might
Mhm.
actually have extenuating circumstances, things are going really poorly, they have to be out some or whatever.
Right.
I just had it with my son has 100 in his ceramics class, and he's 18 also, so they can't do good luck. But I got a letter saying like, we're gonna refer you to the prosecuting attorney, because he's been late so many days.
Mhm.
If he was over 10 minutes late, then they count it as an absence, right? And it's his first period, it's his first class today, his only class that day, which that was intentional on our part to do that to him. But then, I'm like, he has 100 in the class, and you're talking about like, if he has 100 in the class, because he stays after the class and does the work, and whatever, so anyway. So, yeah, so that, I mean, there's gonna be a growth there, but it really is part of a kind of a larger push which I can talk about in our academic section whenever we get to it as well. So everything kind of stays the same. This late work is a new thing. That after a week, late work, after they've been out, or if it's late, or there's late work, it becomes a zero. And then if they want to do something in order to turn that work in, after that time, they have to come to an intervention with the teacher in order to submit work that's later than that. It shows that there was some effort on their part.
Boyd, are these kind of these are the policies though, when it's just gonna require more on the teacher?
I mean, not,
I'm sure there's certain situations where it works better than others.
it really, in some ways, for me at least,
Yeah.
as a teacher, a blanket policy, you don't take work after this date unless the kid's willing to do something to make up that work, that's a much easier thing. Because
Right.
late work was a bane of my existence.
Mm-hmm.
And kids come in 3 weeks later and just saying like, take this now.
Right.
And so this kind of says like, I will take this, but you've got to schedule into my RTI, which is a whole period for that. You gotta come in, we gotta go through everything, and another thing we can, I won't go into all this, but we have some other ways. Because a lot of times, if you're doing that work and turning it late, it may be beyond the context of what the assignment was. So now it's out of context, it's not really
Yeah.
it's not where the class is now. So we're looking at some things that you can say, like, oh, well, that was to assess this piece of knowledge. Here's a tutorial you can do on that instead.
Mhm.
With IXL that they can do that's related specifically to a certain standard, you can do that instead. So.
So,
Anyway, and then the final one, I will say, Courtney did put this caveat in, because this is what, this is what, so this is the students considered absences. And then Fort Smith has this, which, let me see if they put this in theirs, and we went into that. Excessive absences, 15 days per semester, may be a basis for denial for promotion or graduation. Principal and teachers of that student will make this determination before students 15 days absent semester. Parent guardian petition the principal for conference to address the student's absences. So basically, it's like if you're just chronically absent, we could say you can't go to the next grade. You know, and I mean, and that's not really, I don't think that'll kick in, because for that absent, they shouldn't be passing their class most likely, unless it's something fluky. But anyway, it's just kind of like it's that final fail safe. Whereas before we were basically having to do this all the time. This is kind of a thing to fall back on.
Well, hopefully, once it kicks in with Finn's on 6 days.
Right, exactly.
By the time it gets
exactly.
to Courtney and them on
Exactly.
10, like,
Exactly.
there's already somebody trying to keep that accountable.
Exactly.
That's not Courtney and McKinsey.
Right. Right.
And they're having to, I remember, don't they have a court date?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
they have
we
to
had to go to court, yeah.
Yeah, they have to go
Wow.
to court and send them to
Well, and it's,
Yeah, I've never,
there's
I just know about it.
there's no schedule, it's be here at 1 o'clock, court goes till 5 o'clock.
Oh
Your
my God.
kid's case can come up at any time. And, and eventually they'll show a docket, but it's like, I mean, in some cases, I've been there before for 3 hours and I'm like, if the calendaring software would be cool.
Inefficiency of the court system.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm the superintendent of the school and I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours. And then they probably aren't even gonna call me to the stand,
no,
at
yeah.
the end of
Right.
it. And so it's like, anyway.
So, we ready to make a motion?
is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the amendments to the attendance policy.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The next thing on the agenda is the approval of performance bonus for growth at Atlas for, is it Christie
Yep.
Humphrey?
And so we talked about this at our last meeting, I think a meeting before that too. Basically a $3,000 bonus for Christy for her student, for her students having growth on the Atlas, last year over a 3-year period. She exceeded state average. She should have gotten this in the first place, but because of various things, she didn't. Once we, and I know we have it's a little gray on where we are with all that pots of money sitting back there, but we definitely have $3,000 and we can categorize it as money. Within our pots that need to be spent of a certain category, we can say this is out of that category and spend this money. So anyway, I would just like to get that to her and have your approval to do so.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And I will happily second that. That really makes me happy to see that on there.
Very happy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I should have mentioned, or at least asked before, but is it effective next pay period, or?
Yeah, we'll go next pay period.
Okay, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll just do it next pay period as a bonus.
good for her.
Well, we'll have to get tax implications, but sometimes it's weird.
You're right,
You
okay.
get taxed at a higher level, if it's like a bonus and stuff, sometimes her and Steph will work that out,
Okay.
of how she wants to do it, what
Okay.
most
I was gonna say let her know beforehand because it ate up a lot of it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, academic update. We are making a sprint, to the finish, and then we are about to kick back up in January. I'm really excited actually about a lot of things we're doing. A lot of it will be getting kind of unveiled to staff tomorrow at our staff meeting. But I mean, the big piece, we're just making a push towards a lot more standardization around our academic program. Really, I mean, things that we know we need to do, and a lot of our teachers are doing it, but it's not across the board, around pacing guides, around really teaching the standards and narrowing in on that, around student-centered learning objectives that have them actually demonstrating, the skills necessary to master those standards. We have IXL, which is a new program that we've had forever, and we've never used it in a broad scope. We've kind of used it for smaller groups of kids, and lots of schools use it. But it's really gonna be a kind of integral part, especially for our tested kids. It allows, our teachers talk about a lot of times like, well, they don't know fractions or whatever. And I just spend my tier 1 instruction, which is when they're in front of their classroom, supposed to be teaching algebra 1, right? Instead they're teaching 5th grade math that kids missed because of whatever reason. IXL really lets them analyze like where are the gaps in this kid's knowledge, and then give them practice basically within the IXL platform. They can answer, after they answer so many questions on it correctly, and it's sort of adaptive, then it says like, yeah, they've mastered this skill. And so we've really started kind of ramping that up in the last couple of weeks with our teachers using that, and I think it's going to just continue to be really successful. We've also agreed to have a kind of expand the classroom walkthrough team. It was sort of my job before, and it's still gonna be my job, but we're gonna have more because it's just hard for me to get into classes as much as I should. So myself, Kristen, Courtney, Allison, Christy, and Megan McKenzie, and we basically created a standardized walkthrough tool with kind of these are the essential look-fors that we want to see. And then we're gonna go through and kind of start collecting data, and we're gonna have leaderboards, so you get a check every time you have any of those things, and then we'll just put it out there, and then we're gonna have some kind of reward system for the leaders. And we're figuring out a rotation so that it's fair as far as us being in, that certain people don't have 5 chances and someone else has 1 chance. So we're creating kind of a rotation schedule around that. And it's just really kind of, there's some things that we wanna always see in every classroom, such as a learning objective on the board, and such as, evidence of seating charts, teachers circulating in the classroom. We have that there's checks for understanding happening, exit tickets happening, there's things like that. And so we're gonna talk tomorrow at our staff meeting about a lot of these things and make sure everybody kind of feels like they're have a good understanding of it. This is also, a lot of this is being true to RF, obviously. This is coming from the state, a lot of this stuff is, and I shouldn't say that. we had to submit a plan to the state of, here's the things that we're gonna do,
Yeah.
you know?
Good.
And so these are a lot of the initiatives that we submitted to the state, these are the things we're gonna do. I submitted that last Friday, our landscape analysis. They'll bring it to the charter board on Thursday, Friday, just to present them to them. In January, I'll have to go down and present to all our landscape analysis, to the charter and all those panel. So anyway, a lot of, I'm excited about a lot of it. We also have APSRC, Jareth and our other APSRC coaches are coming in. We're doing the Atlas interim right when we come back in January again, which we did our first year. This will be our interim assessment, of kind of mid-year assessment. Jareth's gonna take that data and then come in the next Wednesday at our staff meeting, and really especially with the tested subjects and with everybody has the tested kids, 9th and 10th grade, because our social studies people should be helping us with literacy as well. But talk about like, here's the gaps that we're seeing that your kids have, here's the places we really need to hit hard in and make kind of a really focused, pacing guide of like, we really need to hit these skills. Because they have blueprints that show these are the 6 standards that are really heavily hit on the Atlas test. So if we have 6 standards and one of those standards our kids are already pretty good at, sweet, and there's 5 that we really need to be hitting hard, And just kind of trying to be a lot more strategic, and just a lot more intentional about attacking this test, because we gotta get out of this test stuff. It's, we're not, everybody comes in here and they say, you're not in F school. We walk around the school, you're not, I've been in F schools, you're not in F school. And so it's just really not representing who we are as a school, and so we gotta deal with it.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Charter renewal update, I just kinda gave it to you. We gotta go on January and then in March, again. And March will be whenever we hopefully we'll go in January, present our landscape analysis, we'll be working with the charter autism panel, they'll do some site visits, stuff like that. In March, at their March meeting right before spring break, they anticipate that they will renew our charter at that point.
Spring break, wow.
Yeah.
It's all like towards the end of the year.
Right?
Wow.
Yep. That's all I got.
It's a good report, appreciate that, Boyd.
Yep, yep,
I'm excited for something.
yeah.
It's a nice Christmas gift.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
she's worked really hard.
Yeah.
She was our first, teacher of the year.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
And our Alice, I thought she was gonna be eligible for it again this year, but our scores were so bad last year that it took her, because of the 3-year,
Yeah.
they were really high the year before, but then they were so bad this year, they just anchored the entire 3-year down for this year. So, anyway, I don't think, I haven't seen for sure whether she's gonna be eligible, but I don't think it will be because of the anchors of last year's scores. We're about to turn it around though, I'm excited.
Good.
Alright. You do a motion to move, or do a motion to adjourn?
I
You
know
have
the
to do
one
that?
that's always
Yeah.
so weird to me.
Bye, Keenan.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for being on, man, appreciate
Jumping
you.
on.
See you, Keenan. Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Oh my goodness, I.
Hey, that was, oh my God.